Hello again, everybody. I'm about to introduce our fabulous guest host here, but I wanted to give you a little reference of what we're doing. Tara and I are going to have a discussion about the industry, about Tara's business, which is Perfect Planning Events. Um, and she would talk to us just a little bit about her business. And so you guys just get to listen in. We have indeed taken some questions. As you know, some of you submitted some questions of topics that you might want to hear at forums like these. So we've done just a few of them. So if you don't hear your topic tonight, it may come at another time because we are going to be doing these quite often. So thanks so much for being our studio audience. So welcome, Tara.
Thank you.
Everyone, this is Tara Melvin of Perfect Planning Events, and Tara is one of the premier wedding planners in the DC metro area. We have done many events together, and her business is just top of the line. She's also the head of, the pioneer of, the inventor of the Signature CEO Conference here in DC, and she also has a mentorship program. So she is actually teaching coordinators to be good coordinators, which is what every bride needs in their back pocket. So welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Jillian. Hello, everyone.
So Tara, I want to put you on a spot first off, because I know you've won lots of accolades in the DC metro area. So tell us about just a couple of them that you have acquired lately.
Oh, well, I don't like to brag about
And
myself
why not?
because I just don't. I don't do this for, the accolades. But I will say, besides, winning the awards for, producing events, the biggest accolade I would say is being the founder and president of the National Society of Black Wedding and Event Professionals, which is the first and only wedding industry association for Black-owned businesses. And so we're going into year 2, and I'm super excited about that. And so that's like the biggest reward that I have received thus far, just being able to put Black-owned businesses on a platform, elevating and giving them that resource, that sense of home to come to say, hey, this is where I can come, network with people that look like me, also come to gain knowledge about how I can be a better business owner. And so I think that's my biggest accolade.
Fantastic. And it's not to toot your own horn, but it is to announce to the world that this is happening. And we at Caribbean Caterers are very proud to be founding members.
Thank you.
Of such an association. So
yes,
thank you so much for putting that together for us. But it's interesting that you say having this forum to help Black businesses. But we know, us having done this for decades now, we just want to be good businesses, be able to do good work in the marketplace, be recognized for that work that we do in the marketplace, and really align with our clients to do these grand events that you so expertly do. So tell us, well, I know the answer to this, so I try to couch the question for people who may not necessarily see it this way. But how, I'm going to ask you about networking. How do you use networking to do a better job for your clients?
So networking is key to anyone's business as an entrepreneur. Just in life in general, even if you work for a Fortune 500 company, they're putting you in all of these spaces and they're always telling you to network, right? Networking allows you to build your brand visibility. Also with your clients, you're bringing that advantage to say, hey, I know everybody in the industry. I know Chip, I know Jillian, I know this person, I know that person, I know how their businesses operate, I know what's important to them. And as a planner, if you're a planner, your couples or your corporate clients, they're coming to you because you're supposed to be the be all know all, right? Whether we know it or not, we are supposed to know everything. And so by having that reach, that arm of knowing not just 10 photographers, but 20 photographers, knowing their style and this, that, and other, you have that key advantage because you're telling your clients that, hey, you don't have to be on a computer searching day in and day out about, is this the right photographer? Or is this the right planner or so forth for me? Because you're leaving that all up to me. I know who everyone is. And so that will help your business along the way. And then that brand visibility. I always tell people it's not who you know, but who knows you. So the more times your name can be spit out of someone's mouth, on a different person's mouth, at a different function, whether it's here within Bethesda, Maryland, or it's in the zip code of Washington, D.C., that leads to that credibility that people say, oh, I heard Jillian's name like several times. I heard Jillian's name at this. Prime example to saying Jillian's name, our association wanted to do something at a venue in DC, which had a very strict caterers list. And so I mentioned Jillian's name, and they said, you know what, I've heard of her. I've heard of her reputation. I heard that she's at such and such embassy. Yes, we will allow her to come in and cater your event. So it's those types of things as far as like networking that helps your business to further it along. And then also too, you're supposed to be building your tribe, those people that you know that you can trust, that when you're bringing them into the fold to work with you on an event, you don't have to worry about them because this is your ace boom coon, they're going to do, whatever you need to make this event successful, and you're all in it together. And when one wins, you all win. So networking is definitely key.
Fantastic. And people always ask in terms of networking and again building your brand, but when the other wedding professionals know the quality of your work, then they too can more easily promote you to their clients, knowing what their clients want. And so it is very broad and it spreads around to everyone. Do you find that clients' needs have changed in the current environment? I kind of try to avoid the word COVID.
That ugly C word.
It's the elephant in the room, but at the same time, understanding that we still have to perform our events, we still have to be who we are to the top of what we are, even with all of the nuances that we have to overcome in order to put on an event. But are you finding that clients are having different needs post-COVID than pre?
I will say the biggest thing is that the clients now are very last minute coming to the table to say, oh, I want to get married. Oh, next year? Oh no, like 3 months from now. That is the biggest thing that I see. And then also too, not understanding that yes, we're in COVID. Yes, prices have increased. My prices have increased. And we're not still in COVID when COVID first happened, people were like, oh, I feel so sorry for you. Yes, you can have this for free. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give that. That doesn't work anymore. And people still think that, I can play the COVID story. No, COVID is here to stay. We're adjusting with it. We're living with it and so forth. So that is the biggest thing that I see is that, they still want a little sympathy because of the C word that's out there. But as far as their demands, it's still the same thing. Still the same.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you add value to your clients in the current environment? Is that even a thing? Is it different?
Well, I think we should always be adding value to our services, and whenever we're speaking to people that are coming to, whether they're hiring us for a birthday celebration, a wedding, a corporate event, and it first comes to knowing your landscape as far as like what's going on in your area, and then knowing who your ideal client is. And when I say who is your ideal client, from where do they shop, what do they watch on TV, the type of shoes that they wear, and so forth, and what they're willing to invest in something like this. So if you ever take that time to just write down on a sheet of paper, like these are the people that are coming to me, and then another column, these are the types of people that I want, you'll kind of figure out and identify like who your ideal client is. And then another thing is that knowing who you are, what it is that you're bringing to the table, what your ammunition with, because you want me. I didn't seek you out. You want me for what it is that I have. And so just knowing what your value proposition is very key to bringing it to the table and letting people know that I'm worth every penny that I'm putting out.
Correct. And so tell the world, what is Tara's expertise in particular?
For me, it's all about the logistics, and I'm all about details, and then also educating the client. I think that's something that we as event professionals is something that we need to do as far as bringing an extra added value rather than just accepting their money and saying, oh, I got another notch on my belt, I have another event that's going on. Just educating them, letting them know like what are the standards are that are in the area, or if they're coming to you and saying, oh, well, you know, I just saw you on Instagram and you just posted this beautiful wedding, I want that same thing, and I got $20,000. Oh, okay.
For 2,000 people.
Right. So at that point, it's not to be rude, it's to educate. You know, I'll go into the story. Oh, you like that wedding? Well, let me give you a little bit about that couple, how they came to me, what were their aspirations, what were the end results. And then when it comes to the money part, I don't want a budget friendly bride, but I do educate them as far as like, okay, let me tell you what the cost per person is for something like this so that you can evaluate in your own mind as far as like how much you're going to be spending on your wedding if you hire me. And so I always call it the CPG, cost per guest. And so I tell them like, hey, last year my couples, they spent on average $800 per person. And they're like, per person? Like, what is all that? That's the cost of me. That's the cost of every single linen. That's the cost of every single flower arrangement. That's the cost of the chairs, the food, everything that they need to spend on that wedding divided by this many people. And I said, on average, you know, my weddings, the size is 150 people. So now if you want this particular look, kind of do the calculations.
Yes.
Do you want to have that look and be like, we get ready to cut half this guest list so I can get this look? Or are you going to say like, Tara's not for me? And then just find someone else. Yeah. But it's all about educating couples that are coming to us. Not giving away too much, because you don't want to say, well, I recommend such and such and such. I recommend this. Then why do they need you? Because at that point, you've already given them all of your resources. But you want to give them enough to know that, hey, this is the direction that I'm steering you in. This are the types of events and weddings that I produce.
Fantastic. And so how do you, so I know you're going to talk, you've talked about your ideal clients. So at the point that you are having this conversation and someone is not your ideal client, but they still want to work with you, or they still want what you produce, how would you help that client be the client that you need them to be in order to get what they have asked you for?
The biggest thing is their guest count. You know, we talk about the guest list. How did you come to that head count? Is every single person on there important to you? Or, you know, kind of identify at the beginning as far as like, tell me like the top 5 things that are most important for you about your wedding day. And then I will once they tell me that, then I'll say, well, to have a perfect wedding day, These are the things that I think are important that's going to make it a success. It doesn't have to do with the flowers or the decor, but this is where I think your priorities need to be to make this wedding a success. To me, food is very important. People will talk about your wedding. If that food is bad, that's going to be the only thing that's going to be on their mind.
Then talk about it if the food is good too.
They will, but if it's horrible, they're going to talk about that more, and that's going to be the only thing that you're going to remember. And then also, to me, photography is very important. So because once it's all over with, you want to have those memories to, go back to. And then me, the planner. I'm important because I'm going to make sure that your day runs smoothly. I'm going to make sure that this is the best experience that you ever had. And then your guests are going to walk away saying the same thing. So, we talk about the things as far as like what's important to kind of streamline it down. Yes. And then, every client is not going to be for me. So if that happens and they can't fit within the budget, then we move on.
Part nicely.
Part nicely.
Indeed. Tell me a little bit about venues. Mm-hmm. What are some of the considerations that a bride, if she were listening, should have concerning choosing a venue?
I know we said we were going to talk about the C word, but what are the COVID restrictions right now? What's built into their contract agreements? That is definitely key as far as something to know. You wouldn't think it's important, but I always feel as a planner or even any wedding or event professional is the logistics of getting in and out of the venue. Walk the space from the loading dock from the street, driving into it, getting to the loading dock, from the loading dock, how do you get into the event space, and so forth. Those things are key. Definitely making sure that written in the contract that your setup time is there. There have been times, luckily because now I've gotten used to it, that I make sure that it's in my contract agreements that if you don't, then guess what? They're going to put an event in your space right before. And so now you're going to be limited on time as far as like setup. And especially once you get through the design stages and you're maybe like 3 months out and your florist is telling you, oh, we need 4 hours to get this done. Mm-hmm. So now you're like stuck because now they put someone in that space and it's not written in the contract agreement. So definitely think about things like that.
Very interesting. You mentioned looking at logistics like loading and so on. And brides and grooms that are listening, I think most of them are just looking at the aesthetics of the space. Whether it's by the water, or if it's the grand ballroom, or if they can do their ceremony outside. Thinking about logistics like getting on the loading dock is the furthest thing from people's minds. And so that bit of advice is really well taken, and I'm sure that there are a number of other things in that area. It looks like there's something more.
One is a pet peeve of mine is that venues will try to sell people that, oh, you can fit 12 people at the table.
Yes.
No, we're not fitting 12 people at the table. We're not fitting 10 people at the table. So I always, that's a big pet peeve of mine that venues will do so they can cram the room. That's not a guest experience when you're sitting on top of each other or you have to sit sideways, to eat your food.
Or the
so
waiters can't pass through.
Right. So that is one of the things that, whatever I primarily do I do all of my room diagrams. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I do wedding event management, 70% of the time the venue will do the room diagram. And so once I get it, I'm just like scratching off, like this is not going to happen.
Yes, so it sounds like our audience members are...
I hear them humming.
Yeah, because this is a big one for every wedding professional. Mm-hmm. And so you as the wedding planner or event planner that is seeing everything that all the other vendors are going through, each vendor has very specific nuances of what might be important to them, but you get to see it all.
And I'll tell you, and I know we're limited time, this This couple has been married now 6 years. I did full service planning for them, and they had already went to the venue. I'm not going to name the venue. And the venue told them we can fit 250 people in this space. I do weddings at this place at least twice a year. I said, they told you what? I was like, that's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. I said, we need to be totally outside if you want 250 people. And so I even called the venue. I was like, why are you lying? I said that word. Why are you lying to these people and telling them you can fit 200? Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can. I said, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Set the room for 250 people so that we can come and visit and see it. And sure enough, 250 people didn't fit. We had to end up renting a tent for 250 people.
Wow.
We used nothing that the venue had. But the couple was set on that location because of where it was and so forth. But the venue, if I wouldn't have stronghold it, guess what would have happened on wedding day? Would have had a hot mess.
Absolutely. And so, folks, brides and grooms out there, this is why you need an experienced wedding planner. It is exactly items like this that makes a wedding planner. And again, we are not wedding planners, but as wedding professionals, we see wedding planners be worth their weight in gold, literally. And so our time is almost up, but I want to give just one clip on something that happened. It was a wedding that I did with Tara, and her cousin, the bride's cousin, came to me many years later and decided that they didn't need a wedding planner. I said, well, you went to your cousin's wedding that we did. You saw how well it was orchestrated. And she said, well, it didn't look like the planner did anything. So I said to her that was because the planner was so good. The planner was so organized. The planner was so detailed beforehand that she had everything well orchestrated that it looked like it just ran so smoothly. So please call Tara Melvin and tell me.
And that's what the day is supposed to look like.
Indeed. So Tara, thank you so much for joining us for this chat. I know you've helped a lot of brides and grooms out there, so we really appreciate it. I know you have many more nuggets, so we were glad to have just a few today.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming. Again, Tara Melvin, Perfect Planning Events, the Signature CEO Conference, the National Society of Black Wedding and Event Professionals, mentor to DC wedding planners, and on and on.
Thank you.